From someone who used to spend hours and hours scrolling through social media accounts to now, giving up social media has changed my life, and here's what I've learned. Hi, my name is Tammy. Welcome back to another Feel Good Friday video. For this video, I will be sharing with you how my life was like giving up social media for the past 40 days. This video isn't to criticize social media as entirely negative because, for one, I believe that social media serves as a positive outlet in spreading awareness of important causes and issues happening in the world. And two, especially living in the midst of a pandemic, social media has become the pivotal way we can stay connected with our friends and family during these isolating times. Aside from all of this, I would be speaking personally based on experience and my overall thoughts of what my life was like living without social media. So for those of you that are probably wondering, I used to use social media every day. The social media platforms I used the most were Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, and yes, I know, TikTok. There was one app that I missed the most during this cleanse would have to be TikTok. I know. Prior to this cleanse, I actually set up a time limit between all my social media apps. Majority of the time, I would go over and ignore my limits. If I were to calculate the amount of hours that I spent per day to my overall use of social media throughout the year, it would be 2007.5 hours in a year. And looking back, it's actually absolutely crazy to me to see how much time that is. And to be honest, I believe that I was addicted to social media because, before bed, I would just spend hours and hours scrolling through posts, scrolling through TikTok till I was mentally fatigued. Even past me being mentally fatigued and my body was telling me, I need to sleep, I would avoid listening to how my body felt. But you know what? It was time for me to change that. We display this persona of ourselves online, and we want people to think that we are always happy and that life is good. We prefer to post our successes, our celebrations, and the idea of posting our failures, our hardships, and our downfalls. We avoid posting those kind of things. And for some of us, or most of us, this is something that we go through and that we feel all the time. So we use social media to distract ourselves from feeling this way, suppressing our depression, our loneliness, our sadness behind our screens. And it was only within the first week of the social media cleanse I truly realized the underlying feelings and emotions I was going through and that I was hiding and distracting myself with through the use of social media. How I felt internally, this was something that I needed to change about myself. Dealing with depression and anxiety, I didn't want to believe this was how I felt. I was feeding my mind with information and content that didn't really benefit me or my well-being. We don't realize how much information we receive through social media and how that makes an impact to our mental health, how we feel, and in the way that we think. We become so succumbed to the habits that we pick up on social media, and we don't realize how much that affects us as well. Getting rid of those habits the first week of this cleanse was difficult for me. I had to think about the ways as to how I was going to be spending my time differently. What are the activities I'm going to do in place of being on social media? And I had so much, when I tell you I had so much free time. Within this free time, I spent a lot of it just reflecting on my life. I was able to focus more on my personal growth, and I realized how much sharper my mind has been. I have more clarity in the things that I want in life, and so many different ways we can spend that time more usefully and more mindfully than mindlessly scrolling through social media. Based off my first point, how I was feeling internally, that projected how I felt about myself externally. One of the problems that I realized was that I was comparing my life to other people's lives based off what they post. The way people dress, the way people look. When we compare these ideas of other people to ourselves, we devalue ourselves and our idea of self-worth. I realized how much I worried about the content that I post, and I worried so much over all these things when in the end, nobody really cares about. We want to seek that validation. We want people to accept who we are. And for myself, I'm sure for many people, if a certain post doesn't get a certain amount of likes or favorites, it lowers our self-esteem from the lack of appreciation we expect to receive from others. One of the things that I realized throughout this cleanse was that social media has this idea of always having to keep up with the latest trends. Whether it's, the new dance move or this new saying or new clothing brands, new clothing trends, our brains would automatically think that we need to catch up and keep the pace going with everyone else. One of the things I started to do more was compare myself less and reflect more. Don't worry about the negative criticism that I may receive. Not to care about what people think, just to be more confident in myself and to just really embrace my true self. We get so caught up and so carried away with the idea that we need to maintain our online presence and our virtual selves. Most of us also get caught up in the idea of instant gratification, and we assume that the higher the likes, the higher the followers, more comments you receive, the happier you'll become. But that's not really the case, because it becomes a never-ending cycle of just feeding your ego. What I mean by this is that instead of feeding your ego by these likes and these follows, focus on the different ways you can nourish your spirit. One of the key things worth mentioning, and mostly the reason why I gave up social media in the first place, was to focus on my relationship with God and myself. I started to read books that elevate my spiritual well-being and took church notes while attending online mass and applying my learnings to my thoughts, decisions, and actions in life. With everything going on in the world today and being in the midst of this pandemic, I really want to develop and strengthen my faith in God by, learning to pray more and really listen rather than speaking. There was so much that I was able to accomplish and learn about myself, where I was able to improve myself mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. I hoped you were able to learn a thing or two about what it was like for me giving up social media. The final things that I want to leave you off with is disconnect to connect with your physical self and with God. Learn to live in the moment and be present. Not everything that we do in life has to be captured. Not everything that we do in life needs to be acknowledged by other people. Unplug to recharge in life. Every once in a while, we need to take a break from social media. We need to take a break of maintaining our online selves and just breathe. Throughout this video, you're probably wondering, should I delete social media? And the answer is 100% yes. Whether you delete your social media for 24 hours, 3 days, a month, or even a year, I promise you will not want to go back. Though it may not seem like a long time, so much of my life has improved and I only want to keep moving forward. How are you going to be spending your time more valuably? And I hope that this video has encouraged you all to take a break, live your life, and till next time.